Welcome everybody to our first Nordic Canada Town Hall of the 2022-23 season. Bonjour tout le monde et merci pour prendre le temps pour notre Town Hall aujourd'hui. La plupart de la présentation va être en anglais, mais si vous avez des questions, s'il vous plaît, posez-les en français, puis moi, Kate, Julie et les autres, on peut répondre en français. C'est pas notre langue première, actually peut-être pour Julie, mais on tous peut parler français. Et we did our first athlete town hall yesterday evening, and again, it was great to see some participation. Really excited about today's turnout, and our main goal for this afternoon is just to do a bit of some intros and some general updates as to what we're currently been working on through the spring and summer, where some of the different programs and portfolios are at for Nordic Canada, and really to get some feedback, some questions, to learn more about what people want to hear, learn, and if there's anything in particular going forward that that you'd like to hear more about in the future. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Kate Boyd, our high performance director for the para program, and she can talk through what's going on in her area.
Cool, thanks Chris, and thanks everybody for joining. Nice to have the town halls up and running again, and we do hope to have some more and just have some good conversation within the community and keep you up to date on what's going on. We have, I think many people have seen some of the changes and the announcements coming through, some changes in staffing across the organization, and para is not immune to that as well. Our new hires for this year have been Bjorn Taylor, who's come on as our athlete and coach development manager, and Brian McKeever has been hired on as our head coach for the program. Nish is coming on a little bit more and more focused on our next gen group. This will be his second year in that role. And Ian Daffern is continuing on as our lead wax tech. So it's awesome to have that consistency there. John Jakes has been helping out kind of in the transition, but we do anticipate hiring a shooting coach in the next week or so. So it'll be nice to have the whole team rounded out. Jess Kriski is our IST lead, and she kind of crosses over a few sports, including cross country and biathlon. So amazing to have that crossover across the three disciplines. And we've got Cindy, who keeps us all in line and reminds us of all the important things that we sometimes forget here and there. So she's the one that kind of keeps us all in line. So that's our staff team heading into this next squad. Super excited. Bjorn and Brian, of course, have been around the team for a good long time, but amazing to have them in their new roles and to see them just jumping into it with 2 feet. Having just spent the last 3 weeks in New Zealand with Brian, it was fun to see him in action in this new role. So yeah, new era, new shift for para. We talked about the staffing shift a little bit, but there's a lot of consistency there as well, which I think sets us up in the future in terms of the culture that we have within the team and the program, and that familiarity of how our finely oiled machine functions. So some changes, but a lot of consistency as well. Team focus continues to be on high performance and growth of our programs, so down into the pipeline. That is an area that we're looking at, and how we support down into the pipeline, whether it's talent ID, a new prospects level program, getting some younger athletes more connections to the national team, and continuing on with our annual camps and classifications. In terms of what's going on, some may or may not be aware, para programs, para snow sports have come under the FIS fold, and that was just announced earlier in the summer. It's been a work in progress and something that the IPC has been pushing for a little while. And so that we're the first para sports to move away from the IPC. But it is a big process that the IPC is working through with all sports. And so, as with anything new and new governance, I think we're all just kind of feeling the waters and what does this look and feel like for us. Our schedule hasn't really changed a lot. FIS will oversee the technical aspects of our cross-country races, and the IBU will actually oversee the biathlon components. So there's an MOU between those two entities as to how that looks and feels. But until we get on the ground and have a sense of how those races roll out under FIS, it's hard to say what those changes will be like, but we're excited to have landed with FIS and all that is to come there. This year, we've got 3 confirmed World Cups on the calendar. Finland, our World Championships in Sweden, and a World Cup in the US in March. And then, you know, continuing on with a tried and true YTP programming camps that we've done in the past, and we challenged that as we did our planning this year, just to, you know, is this what we want to do? Is now the time to make some changes as we prepare for Italy? Is there anything different that we want to do? And the overwhelming response was that no, these camps are really good and give us what we need. So we'll continue. It was really amazing to be back down in New Zealand again, having missed it for the last couple of years. It was different this year in that we used to be able to be right at the snow farm and ski in, ski out. That's no longer a possibility. And so we were living down in Wanaka, which is about a 25-minute drive with a really fun 4-kilometer zigzaggy road up and down every day. So I think it worked out really well. It was nice to have a balance, nice to switch up the training, explore some trails. And, you know, when the weather was kind of nasty, we had some really solid options downtown as well. So definitely looking forward to getting back to New Zealand again. And I think they were very happy to see the Canadians back down and on snow as well. Some of the things that we're looking at, some of our next gen programming. Nish has been out in Whistler already. He's been to Sudbury for some camps, and I know he's got some plans for some stuff in Quebec. So those pieces are coming together. Some of the pieces that we're looking at in terms of research and innovation, taking a peek at our sleds and our sled designs. They're a pretty key component. How can we optimize those? And we know that they're pretty much a different design for every athlete. But what gets them where they need to be to get the power and the speed that they need. And we're also looking at ski speed and where are our athletes gaining across an entire course rather than just looking at it from a final result piece. So are we gaining time? Are we losing time on the uphills? Are we doing that on the downhills? Are we on the flats? So where can we optimize that? So those are some of the big focuses for the coming season. Our criteria is coming together. We've met as a staff and reviewed what we've had in the past and what we are doing forward. We'll make those edits and have that to the high performance committee in the next few weeks with final approvals going out. We do have to get some stuff vetted and approved by Sport Canada and of course by the high performance committee before it's published and translated. So. But I'd say mostly similar benchmarks to previous years with some minor tweaks along the way. We will be hosting a qualification to World Cup event in November out in Canmore, just working on the details around that. And Canada Games is also something that I think for some of the coaches on this call may be interested in. With para, there is per province 1 male sitting and 1 male standing, 1 female sitting, 1 female standing per province. And what we strive to do is fill those positions, and we know that not every province is able to do that. So we will then look at the categories and try to fill those with any additional athletes in the provinces. We have space for 32 athletes. It's been a while since we've been able to achieve that goal, but we're trying to find a good balance and a good competitive field in each of the different categories of sitting and standing men and women. There will be classification in the fall. So if you've got new athletes that are looking and needing classification, that's an opportunity. And there has been questions around coach certifications, and working with Julie's group, we'll see what we can do to get coaches up to speed as well. So those are the big updates on the para side of things. We can ask if people have questions now. I'm happy to take them, or we can say some stuff till later as well. Ivan.
Hi, Kate. Thanks. Ivan from Nordiq, Alberta here. You mentioned, so that camp is happening in Canmore still. I heard it was moved to Sovereign. So, but you don't have a dates, approximate dates for that?
It will be probably the end of November, that last week, but we don't have the final dates confirmed just yet. But we'll get those out in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Okay, please keep us in mind. And the coaching course also, a good possibility that it's going to happen. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your work. Good job.
Yep. Cool. Over to Julie.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here today. Like Chris said, it's great to see this kind of turnout. My name is Julie Beaulieu. For those of you who have not met me or spoken to me yet, I am the Sport Development Director, and I work with these awesome people here. I'll get to them in a second. I just thought what I should do is maybe give a broad overview of what we do in development, and I made notes here, so I'm not ignoring you, just looking at my notes. Development sort of is a large portfolio, and we also have events that fall under our portfolio as well. I think one of the biggest pieces that I think is most exciting right now is the alignment that we're creating with high performance development and high performance para as well, and more working cohesively with the three groups in trying to align the organization internally and then moving outwards. In development, we oversee coach development, and that includes the NCCP manuals and all the pieces that are involved with that. Currently with NCCP, we are redoing our para athlete development matrix as well as the para coaching materials. So we're in the process of doing that. And we're also working with the gold medal profile. So we oversee and work with high performance, both streams, and the development and the integration of the gold medal profile within the entire system. And that includes things that we're starting to see, like our technical report cards. If anybody's been to a national training camp or one of our current comp dev courses, the integration of the different pieces of the gold medal profile as well into that. We also do officials development, and again, I'll speak to the staff in just a second, and looking at the management of the officials program, the development in conjunction, of course, with our divisions, similar to coaching courses as well. We look at the development of wax techs, and if some of you have seen our immersion opportunities this year, we're offering several immersion opportunities for our wax techs. And I think events as well, both domestic and international, we work with trying to develop a robust domestic calendar, as well as helping to support the international events with our hosting societies here in Canada. One of the big pieces that development does is really look at system gap analysis through our gold medal profile, as well as working with high performance. We're looking at ways and areas in which our system and our community, where there are gaps that we can address globally. And one of the things that, things like the technical report card, where we see technical deficiencies. If anyone's been listening or been around, we're talking about looking at how we're developing speed in our athletes in Canada. And then we work with high performance to look at, well, how do we integrate changes to help address those gaps? So how are we looking at our domestic calendar, in the events within the domestic calendar? How are we writing our coaching manuals to help coaches do a better job of coaching speed? How are we assessing speed? How are we integrating it into the camps that we offer at the different levels? How are we teaching our officials to look at how course outlines are at events to make sure that they support speed development? So part of the role of development is really looking at, and that's just one example of many of what we're looking at in terms of gaps that we see globally within our system, and then how do we use all the different avenues to address that gap. And then finally, development is also looking at the development team. So what a lot of people colloquially call the junior program. The national development team is actually under the sport development organization division, sorry, and works with the development group, our staff here, to help address things like our athlete development, but not only that, but our coach and wax development pieces as well. To get all that work done, we need some pretty awesome people, and we have them. Many of you have probably already interacted with Stephen Novosad, who's our coach development manager. He helps with all of our NCCP training manuals. He does outreach. He is an MLF coach that goes and helps train about all our LFs out there as well, and helps with the gold medal profile piece from the integration into our coaching courses. Elena Guepé, who is our events and officials manager, oversees the implementation and direction of our domestic race calendar, sanctioning, homologation, licensing, as well as our officials development. She also works with our wax group to keep our wax policy in line with the developments that are happening at the international level, and about probably 1,000 other things in terms of things that have to do with events. And then Matt Smider, who is our development coach, he works with our development team, but also acts as support for Robin and Eric through the national program, and also working with our IST with Jess Krisky, helping us look at pieces of our gold medal profile into the pathway. Currently, things like the technical report card, the prospects camps that are being offered, and different things like that. I'm not sure what the next slide is, Chris. So speaking to the domestic calendar, I know, and categorically we know, things like our domestic calendar criteria, they're late this year. We've had a huge changeover and support staff coming in. We wanted the opportunity to have high performance and development really sit down together, and para, and really look at what we're doing internally, and sort of, as my friend says, get our poop in a group, but get our systems aligned. So that we're actually offering things that support what we're trying to develop in our program. Thank you. Elena has shared the Nordic Canada race calendar in the chat if anyone's interested in looking at it. The other thing that we looked at, and this will be coming out shortly in another town hall in terms of our events town hall, is the changes that are happening at the FIS level and how we're addressing those. And so we know that FIS is moving to gender common distances for the 22-23 season, in terms of where we fall into the competition development pathway. We know that as an organization, and we'll be starting this very soon, actually this fall, is doing a complete competition model review, and how these FIS changes affect what we're doing at the lower levels, which then affects, our training, our coach development, our domestic races at the tier 2 and lower levels. And you can see right now the gender common differences for World Juniors and U23s and World Ski Championships. They've kept the calendar the same for 2023. Other changes, and I'll let Chris get into this a little bit more in detail because it does affect our high performance stream a little bit more. There will be no fluoro ban this year, so we will continue status quo with what our wax policies have been. World Cup points are now being distributed to the top 50. Which is also an interesting change, and will have some effects to us on how we try to structure things moving forward. And then in an effort, FIS's effort to increase the involvement of female wax techs and female coaches, there are now female course bibs being given out additional to the current bibs as well. So I'll let Chris talk a little bit more to those in terms of the high performance stream of things. Do I have another slide, Chris, or was that it?
That's it.
Okay, just a few other projects that we're working on to bring people up to date. We had the Women in Coaching Mentorship program was launched. We've had 16 applicants, and we'll be meeting with the Women's Committee shortly to go through to partner. I think it will be between 6 and 8 of those applicants will be partnered with a mentor through our program. They'll be brought into Canmore for a training weekend to create learning development plans, as well as an immersion opportunity, and then structure how that program will be. Our mentors will be financially supported. There will be an honorarium for them. And we're really looking forward to having a very solid structured program for the Women in Coaching opportunity. Coach immersion and wax immersion. I think we had over 20 applicants for that. We met as a group last week to look at those opportunities. We will be finalizing and reaching out to the applicants this week in terms of the opportunities that we have for them and successfully where they have been placed. Other things that are happening in terms of the event side, FIS will be coming in under the Nordiq Canada. We're super grateful. I know the XCSO has done a tremendous job over the past few years helping lead that. We see it as a valuable piece of our development pathway especially for our student athletes. And Nordiq Canada, you'll see when the criteria gets published this year that we have incorporated the FIS criteria into that criteria, and that it will be managed through Nordiq Canada now. And again, incredibly grateful and thankful for XCSO for having done that for so many years. Other things that are happening in terms of support material, resources for our community. We're in the process of revamping our ski playground material and aligning it with our pathway. And again, going back to gap analysis pieces of agility. One of the things that we've noticed with it, is development of agility. And so creating resources that help support that. There's a working group right now of about 6 coaches working with Nordiq Canada to help us revamp and revitalize ski playground. And we're doing it in conjunction with Biathlon Canada, Nordic Combined, and ski jumping as well, to have a multidisciplinary approach to it. And we're hoping to have that launched probably mid-end October. We've had a lot of requests. We have a huge recreational stream of members in our community, and having an instructional stream for them as well in terms of providing resources for adult lesson plans, recreational skiers. And so we will be moving forward with that. We will be looking at an instructional stream as well as our coaching stream, as well as providing resources for our adult lesson plans and just recreational instruction in general. We continue to work on the integration and alignment of our national ski team, as well as our development team, as well as our up and coming athletes as well. For those of you who may not have seen, we launched our first prospect camps this year, one East, one West. Matt Smider did a phenomenal job, well supported by Eric Denice as well, to offer these regional camps, and a huge thank you to our divisions and provincial coaches as well who helped support this program. And one of the big pieces there was the integration of our national ski team, both para and Olympic, into those prospect camps, and allowing that connectivity between programs right into the system. And the impact that our current national team athletes and some recently retired national team athletes can have on our up and coming athletes. We're looking at and we'll be working and reaching out to divisions to see how we can implement this. But we're looking at our camp structure with our national teams and seeing an opportunity there to help our current national team athletes either pursue an official stream or a national coaching stream, or even just coaching in general. How can we support their pathway more effectively, and then be able to use them even more effectively into the system, into our pathway system as well. So looking at how we can work better with our national ski team athletes to continue that integration. We're incredibly grateful to Catherine Stewart-Jones, Remy Jolet, Emily Young, and I think Ali, Laura, Tony, and Antoine in Quebec were part of that prospect camp as well. And resounding feedback from our prospect athletes was the impact those national team athletes had on them. I'm sure that I'm missing a few things, but that's a bit of where we're at right now. We have made a commitment. We know that we were late with our domestic calendar this year, and communication with the larger national ski team plan development included, and Chris will talk to some of the steps for that in terms of the camp planning communication that we have moving forward. It is our intention to start the domestic calendar planning very early next year, in the January, February, so we can be launching the next year's calendar at the end of nationals this year. So we have heard and we understand the concerns about late communication, and we are working very hard on getting that rectified. So I think that's about it for the moment. I'm sure I've missed a few things, but as always, very grateful to all the people out there who are working with us and helping us as we try to get things developed and moving and in the development area. And I think that's it for now. If there's any questions, again, like Kate said, happy to take them now. We're also happy at the end. And if there aren't, I will pass it over to Chris.
Thanks, Julie. I'll go slowly here for about 30 seconds to see if any hands are raised. And if not, then I'll commence. And so, yeah, for those that don't know me, my name is Chris Jeffries. I started as high performance director for Nordiq Canada in the spring, in April. And previously to that, I was the head coach and program director for the Alberta World Cup Academy for almost 12 years. Yeah, I was really excited to join Nordiq Canada this spring. Having worked closely with the national ski team and the organization for many years, I see a tremendous amount of opportunity. I think our ski community is poised for a tremendous amount of success. Even though there had been quite a void in consistent leadership, particularly at the within the Olympic stream, over the last 6 years, I saw a lot of things that were already being implemented or about to be implemented that I knew would help move our organization in the Olympic stream forward positively into the future. And being able to work alongside Kate and Julie as the directors within our leadership team, Stefan Brett as CEO, Megan Begley as COO, and all the rest of the staff at Nordiq Canada, it made it very appealing for me to change and help move things forward. Last summer, as a first step, as a stopgap to help alleviate the high performance or lack of service at the high performance stream, we hired Eric Denies as the next gen coach. He wasn't able to do much to support truly his role as next gen coach during the second part of last year. His main job was to kind of plug holes in the dam to keep things on track so that we could navigate an Olympic year last year and a successful World Junior Championships. And then Robin McKeever was hired as the full-time head coach of the national ski team for the Olympic stream this spring. And between Eric and Robin, it's really exciting to have two coaches with their level of expertise in leading high achieving world-class international programs. And it makes our program much better prepared to tackle the next 4 and 8 years of these two quads going into 2030. The other staff member, as already listed by Kate and Julie, is Cindy Chetley. She's our high performance coordinator. And in addition to the various administrative services she provides for the organization, she is our athlete services personnel and handles anything and everything from clothing to national ski team agreements, carding, all of our high performance documents like our carding criteria, safe sport onboarding. If it happens at the national ski team level, then it goes through Cindy. As I said, there was a lot that had me excited about joining Nordiq Canada, and I think this picture of our junior men's relay team from last year's World Championships kind of sums it up. And these boys finished 4th place in Norway last year. Of these boys, there's 5 Olympians who represent the parents of these athletes. And when I was growing up in the sport, it was a very new sport in Canada, and it was hard to even find ski boots or skis. Like, there were specialty importers of equipment. And going from the 80s to where we are now, where there's just so much knowledge about skiing in Canada, the number of professional coaches we have across the country, the level of high performance programming that we have from coast to coast. And we're seeing it right now in this next generation of athletes. 4 of our top U20 relay performances at World Juniors for men and women have happened in the last 4 years, and we're talking about 20 years previous to that with a tremendous amount of great athletes that have come through our system. So it's I think the future is bright. We're excited to have a new high performance leadership group, and we want to create a Canadian way of developing athletes, both throughout our national development system as well as at the national ski team level, and it's exciting. So this spring, we had our first high performance staff meeting as a brand new group on April 4th, and then dove immediately into review meetings and planning meetings, and miraculously got our first national team camps up and off the ground, thanks to our coaches and our staff for being able to bring it together. In addition to our senior next gen teams, as Julie highlighted, I think it's really exciting to have a development team, more or less our junior national team program, plus some first year seniors. This is our first time having a junior national team stream in over a decade, and has long been identified as a gap of our high performance system. And the prospect camps that Julie alluded to that happened this summer. And if there's one thing that I think as an organization we should be really proud of at the end of this year, is these prospect camps. It's such a huge leap forward, an opportunity for us to bring our communities closer together, provide collaboration opportunities between coaches and athletes. And so for anybody on this call, I really challenge all of us to look to these camps next year and in the future to come together and work together as a Canadian ski community to not only make our athletes better, to make all of ourselves better. So when we talk about our high performance plan for leading towards 2026 and 2030, the Olympics in Cortina, and fingers crossed maybe Vancouver in 2030. It's, I think, a sort of philosophical approach is this Canadian way, and it's something that I know really motivates our coaches and our staff. And this is not to take away from the amazing influences that we have from abroad, especially from some of our previous national team coaches, but it's saying that we are Canadian. We live in Canada. We are influenced by being Canadian and what our country has and offers, and we have to respect that and build a program that realizes that and takes it into account. And so that's kind of where so building a strong national ski team philosophy really comes into play. And I think where you see other successful organizations and programs, that type of philosophy has a habit when it's really positive and contagious to like filter down throughout the development system into different pockets and become what sort of binds us together. And it was a real driver when we hired both Eric and Robin to be the coaches for the Olympic stream. They believe strongly in building positive, inclusive team cultures that are very process driven, but don't shy away from excellence, from looking at attaining podium performances at major championships. And I don't think we should ever apologize for being high performance driven, but we also have to make sure that we maintain a real sort of inclusivity to our community. Building a 4-year plan towards 2026 has been sort of a cornerstone of our planning process as a coach in our system for the last number of years. One thing that always frustrated me is I felt like we were very year by year in our planning, and oftentimes sometimes month by month. So when we sat down with our senior and next gen athletes in May at our first training camp, we started looking at the plan, the long-term plan, we didn't start with this year's camp plan. We didn't start with this year's winter. We actually fast forward to the 2026 games in Italy and kind of worked our way backwards to show how our planning towards those games was going to influence our planning for each year of the next quad. And that was something I think as a high performance program for the Olympic stream we did really well in the lead up to 2002 to 2006, 2010. But we've kind of gotten away from that over the last sort of 4 years or so. In addition to our high performance staff, we are also supported by a very strong community of DTEs, which we call daily training environments. So one of the things that's unique to our makeup of our national ski team this year is our 3 coaches, Robin, Eric, and Matt, do not actually coach individual athletes that are in those programs. They are there to run our national team programming, to support our national team athletes, to work collaboratively with their individual coaches that are at their DTEs. So whether they're at a training center, high performance club, an NCAA program, our coaches work with this sort of group. Robin always talks about our athletes as being their own business and owning their own business. And so really putting that front and center in terms of how the communication process works and challenging the athletes to have ownership of what they're doing and to work with all of the resources that are available to them. If there are any questions, please feel free to jump in. But I will continue to ramble on. As Julie kind of alluded to this before, and I know this has been talked about through different webinars and town halls in the past, but our gold medal profile is really how we prioritize our programming, our camp-based programming. And this is something that has been worked on for a number of years, and we're really just starting to, for the first time, implement it at the national ski team level. This is our first rollout. I was on a call this morning with Robin and our lead IST, Jess Krisky, and talking about the current status of our athletes' individual improvement plans and how those have been created from the data that we've taken from all of our testing that goes into the gold medal profile. Maybe I'll let Julie speak a little bit to the GMP. She's much more in tune with its creation than me, but as you can see, it kind of targets all areas of our athlete development, whether it's performance metrics, which we'll actually talk a little bit more on the next slide, the tactical, the technical, our physical metrics. So testing, whether it's a 3,000 meter running test or an incremental test on a running treadmill, our health parameters, whether it's a basic medical or blood test, the nutrition makeup of an athlete and what that looks like, an athlete's equipment, the mental checklist for an athlete, as well as the daily training environment. So what does the athlete have available to them in their home where they train, and how can we identify gaps through these different categories to be able to provide a targeted approach for each athlete's training and planning process going forward. We do have Rob McKeever on the call. I might put Robin quickly on the spot to see if he has anything else to add to this slide about the national ski team program. Sorry, Robin, for putting on the spot.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Definitely on the spot, but still awake, so able to fill in a little. I think the biggest piece that I have had to take into account over this last month is just how new everything really is in all this for me and for the staff, like Chris and myself working together on this. We have 18 athletes that we're actually fairly first time working with them in all effectiveness here, and we don't actually have direct coaching influence over per se. So it's going to take a bit of time, and it's about creating a culture that people buy into, and hopefully with the athletes' professionalism and everything that comes along with the program that we try to put forward, that we will gain a lot of trust, and I look forward to the winter ahead.
Thanks, Robin. So the first pillar of the GMP is performance metrics, and this is something that we'll be working on quite a bit this fall and winter. We're in the process right now of hiring a performance analyst on a part-time contract to help us tie ours together. In the past, when as a community, we probably are well aware, we've relied heavily on CPL points to help identify where athletes fit in our podium pathway. And it's not to say that CPL points aren't useful, but as a system, we're moving away from CPL points. And as I said yesterday in our athlete town hall, I think it's important that athletes start to take the words chasing points out of their vocabulary. Nowhere in our GMP do we validate just chasing point opportunities. And really what we're looking for when we're talking about performance metrics is three categories. And one is obvious, it's performance, it's results. It's what you find in the FIS database. But in addition to those, we're going to be tracking athlete GMP scores. And this is especially true at the national ski team level. And over time, our goal is to filter that all the way down throughout our podium pathway. And we're already in the process of doing that through our NCCP workshops. But it's going to take time, just as it's taking time for us to be able to do it at the national ski team level. All these new initiatives take time to do them well. But through the GMP score, it allows us to monitor the process rather than the end result. And I think it's a really valuable communication tool, not only for coaches, but also for athletes. And then the third performance metric that we want to start to use more and track more readily is ski speed and meters per second. And I know with many people in our sport, they immediately think, well, that's not possible. There's too many variables. Snow speed changes from day to day, but we actually have already a lot of good data around ski speed from World Cup athletes, international athletes, and if we take out the extreme data, the middle data is quite representative of where athletes fit. And the number one word that kind of keeps coming back in our conversations about podium pathway athletes is speed. And we need to develop speed because we know speed, it encaptures the technical side and captures the tactical side, strength, mobility, agility, psychology. So all of these different metrics from our gold medal profile all get filtered back to speed, and it's something that we can evaluate every single race. We can evaluate it in time trials. So we think it's going to be an important cornerstone of our performance metrics and how we look at athletes to determine how they're progressing year over year and in the podium pathway. And the other nice thing about these three metrics is that we don't have to provide equal weighting to all of them. For our younger athletes, where we know there's a lot more variability in their performance, it's a lot easier then for us to focus on things like GMP score or ski speed. And maybe then as athletes start to climb up the podium pathway and spend more time racing internationally, then yeah, results will become a more determining factor. Because if our goal is Olympic medals, then we have to embrace that metric. But it doesn't mean we have to constantly be evaluating our younger developing athletes in the same light. Selection criteria. At our next town hall, we will we'll spend some time and go through the key components of the selection criteria. Right now, I'd just like to give you a bit of an update. We've just finished some of our consultations with the high performance committee and our DTE coaches group. And we've already gone through a couple of iterations of the selection criteria. Our goal is to have a final draft out to the community by mid-September. As Julie mentioned, like, yeah, in a perfect world, we would love to have our selection criteria out earlier in the year, but we also want to make sure that it's done right and that it's aligned with our programming goals for the next 4 and 8 years. So it has taken us a bit more time to work through it and to really ensure that it supports what we want our high performance programs to do and those objectives. So there's been a lot of consultation internally as well as externally, and we'll continue to ask for external feedback. Our high performance committee is a really integral part of this process. They're kind of our sounding board for our high performance planning, for our selection processes. It's comprised of 5 members of our ski community that we feel brings a very unbiased but also very broad sport-based knowledge to the table. For those that are not familiar, the members of our high performance committee is Ali Masson from the Yukon, Robbie Weldon, a former Paralympian, Maria Lundgren from BC, Devin Kershaw, former Olympic athlete, and John LaFranco is our newest member of our high performance committee, and he is actually more from the athletics world and brings a much needed balanced view and outside opinion. So between those 5, that's our current high performance committee. And one thing I can say about this group is they're 100% focused on making sure athletes are well serviced, and that our high performance programming is accountable to our athletes. So you can have a lot of trust in this group of individuals. And that's it. So as we said at the start, our goal for this meeting was, number one, to have a meeting to start a process of being more open in our communication, and to provide an avenue for people in our community to be better informed, to ask questions, and to help steer us forward in terms of what we do need to do a better job of communicating. It's a very big country with lots of different stakeholders, and we know that communication will always be one of our biggest challenges that we need to embrace and find ways of improving. So I'll open the floor now in case there's people that would like to ask questions or have some ideas of what they'd like to know more about for future town halls. Well, I'm going to take this silence as being that we've done an okay job today of bringing up one new message, of bringing forward some information. We will be doing another town hall similar to this at the end of September. And in addition to just general information sharing, we will try and bring on a couple of key speakers to provide some additional sort of viewpoints of what's happening. And if you have any additional comments or feedback or ideas, as always, please feel free to reach out to Kate, Julie, or myself, and we would be happy to take your feedback and bring it forward for future town halls. Oh, can you recap the GMP score? Okay, let me it's a little bit of a tough one, Kevin, just because we don't quite have a GMP score yet. As I said, these are the areas that we know we need to build for this year. I mean, we do have it. I'm trying to think of the best way to answer this, Kevin. So at the national ski team level, we have report cards for each one of these categories. And within those report cards, we're able to provide a score 1 through 5. So if we take the technical, for anybody that was on the webinar last fall around the technique report card, for each subcategory of each technique, you can rate that athlete 1 through 5, I believe. And so from those scorings, we can then provide sort of total scorings for each category, and then those can then go into an overall GMP score. And so say if it's out of 100, like a GMP score could be 90, and the 90 in itself might not tell you so much, but then we can go back into each category and look at where the gaps are. Where are we seeing 1s or 2s or even 3s, and then those then become those become central to our gap analysis for how we then identify needs for athlete trainings that then goes into their YTPs for the year and influences what it is we're working on with those athletes. So that is a bit of in general terms, how the GMP score will work. And as I said, it's something we are doing at the national ski team level, and it's something that we will be over time driving further and further down into our development system. We're not there yet. As I said, we're still trying to get to a completed product at our end, and so it's something that we're working to in the future. That's probably the best I can say there. Maybe Julie might have some additional comments.
Yeah, just in terms of the score, it's also weighted to contribution to performance as well. And that's part of what the performance analysts will be looking at in terms of the contributing factors, the weighting of the contributing factors, and how that can fit into a GMP score. Other NSOs have been using the concept of a GMP score successfully and have been tracking it for quite some time to see, the correlation to outcomes in terms of performance. So, we're meeting actually tomorrow morning with Canadian Sport Institute Calgary to sort of chat the next steps in the development of this and the hiring of a performance analyst. So I'm just seeing the question from XCSO about domestic development and coaches technical. Coaches technical committee is up and running and has been. They've been incredibly valuable contributors to many things right now in terms of our, even in our domestic calendar from a competition athlete development piece, in terms of nationals, in terms of our tier 1 events, as well as looking forward. In terms of the domestic development committee, Chris, Kate, and I met probably, it would have been about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and started looking at all the terms of references of all the committees that we currently have with Nordiq Canada. And then, Kate did this awful thing of going to New Zealand and ski for 3 weeks with the para team. And, between holidays and people's schedules, it's in line for us to meet again to finish that review of the terms of references. So hopefully we'll have some information about that pretty soon.
Just one housekeeping item. We did have 2 pairs of Nordiq Canada socks to give away at today's town hall. And before the meeting started, Ilana suggested that we give the socks away to the first 2 people that ask questions. So that would be according to my watches, Ivan and Kevin. So Ivan, that's a pretty easy one for us to get some socks to you. Kevin, if you can in the chat, just put your email address and we can get your contact information, send those off to you as well. That'd be great. Yeah, Ivan, come by the office anytime. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining today. Again, great to see so many faces and so many names, and look forward to continuing to share through these town halls going forward.
Thank you, everyone.